In just 1 year, I went from 500 to 25,000 plus followers on LinkedIn. But here's what actually matters. Building a personal brand on LinkedIn is the fastest way to find paid opportunities right now. Board positions, speaking gigs, consulting deals, fractional roles, or just straight up grow your business. And I'm living proof. That growth took my business to multiple six figures with zero ad spend. Zero. Every consulting client, every speaking engagement, and every opportunity, all inbound, all because of this framework I'm about to share with you. But here's the thing. I wanted to prove this wasn't just luck. So I ran an experiment. I took 3 executives, all busy, all at different stages of their careers, and had them follow my exact framework for 60 days. No special treatment, no shortcuts, just the system. What happened in those 60 days surprised even me. In the next 25 minutes, I'm going to break down exactly what these 3 leaders did, the results they got, and the exact framework you can use to replicate their success. By the end of this video, you'll have the complete roadmap these executives followed, and you'll see proof that it actually works. Let me introduce you to the 3 executives who participated in this 60-day experiment. Okay, executive number 1, Sarah. She's a senior VP at a Fortune 500 company looking to position herself for board opportunities. She had about 800 LinkedIn followers, mostly colleagues and former classmates. Her profile looked just awful, and she'd posted maybe 5 times in the past year. Executive number 2 is Marcus. So he's a former C-suite leader who just launched his own consulting practice. He had around 2,000 connections, but zero engagement. He needed to build credibility fast and start generating consulting leads. Executive number 3 is Jennifer. She's a mid-level executive looking to make a career leap into a fractional CMO role. She had about 1,200 followers, but felt completely invisible. Nobody knew what she was capable of, and she wasn't getting callbacks for the roles that she wanted. Here's why I chose these 3. They represent different scenarios you might be in right now. Maybe you're like Sarah, already successful but invisible when it comes to opportunities outside of your current company. Maybe you're like Marcus, starting something new and need to build credibility quickly. Or maybe you're like Jennifer. You know you're capable of more, but nobody's paying attention. I gave each of them the same challenge. Follow my 6-step framework for 60 days. Post consistently, optimize your profile, build strategic connections, and be authentic and vulnerable in your content. That's it. 60 days, no excuses. I wanted to see 3 things. Would the framework work for people at different career stages? How quickly would they start seeing results? And what kind of opportunities would come in and from where? The first step was getting their stories right, because without a clear, compelling story, nothing else matters. First thing I had each executive do was develop their story. This is the foundation of everything. You need to create a clear character of yourself and then tell stories over and over again that reinforce that character. I call this the 3C framework. Clear about who you are, consistent about who that person is, and constantly reinforce that story. Sarah's challenge was that she looked like every other corporate VP. She was very, very polished, professional, boring. So we dug deep and found her unique angle. She'd built 3 high-performing teams from scratch in male-dominated industries. Her story became the executive who builds teams that actually work, even in toxic cultures. That's her prolific zone. It's specific. It's bold. It challenges conventional corporate wisdom. Marcus, he had the opposite problem. He was trying to become everything to everyone. Strategic advisor helping companies grow could mean anything. We refined his story to the former CEO who walks away from bad fit clients. Here's what I've learned about sustainable growth. Now he had a point of view, a filter, a reason for people to pay attention. Jennifer's breakthrough came when she stopped hiding her unconventional path. She'd worked in 4 different industries in 10 years, something she thought was a weakness. We reframed it. the marketing leader who brings cross-industry insights your competitors don't have. Suddenly, her weakness became her unfair advantage. Here's what all three had in common. They found their prolific zone, that sweet spot between mainstream and crazy where you start creating polarizing content that makes people stop scrolling. You need to have opinions. You need to challenge conventional wisdom. You need to make people think, wait, did they really just say that? I pushed each of them to be vulnerable in ways that made them uncomfortable. Sarah showed a post about a diversity initiative that completely failed and what she learned from it. Marcus wrote about turning down a $150,000 consulting contract because the client's values didn't align with his. Jennifer posted about getting fired from a job and why it was the best thing that ever happened to her in her career. Remember this. Vulnerable plus authentic means saying things on LinkedIn that you might only say to your spouse behind closed doors. These three executives went from sounding like everyone else to standing out immediately. Their engagement rates tripled in the first 2 weeks just from this shift. By week 2, Sarah's posts were getting 10 times more views than before. Marcus had people DMing him asking about his client selection process. Jennifer's getting fired post got over 50 comments from people sharing similar stories. This is the power of authenticity. Almost nobody can actually do this, but when you figure it out, this will become your unfair advantage. Once we had their stories straight, we needed to make sure their profiles could convert all that new attention into actual opportunities. Week 1, I audited all 3 profiles, and honestly, they were disasters. Sarah's headline was Senior Vice President at her company. Marcus had a generic banner with no call to action, and Jennifer's About section was just incredibly boring. Your LinkedIn profile is not a resume. It's a lead generation machine. And if you're not treating it that way, you're leaving thousands of dollars on the table. Here's what we changed for each of them. So Sarah's profile, the headline, we changed it from Senior Vice President to Building High-Performance Teams in Male-Dominated Industries. Board member, leadership advisor. For her banner, we added a custom banner with her value proposition, helping companies build teams that actually work. We completely rewrote her About section to highlight specific achievements with numbers, led 3 teams to 200% plus revenue growth instead of just vague corporate speak. In her featured section, we added her best posts and a link to schedule a conversation. Marcus's headline, we changed it to Former CEO Helping Scale-Ups Avoid the Growth Mistakes That Cost Me $2 million. Strategic Advisor. His banner had a really clear call to action. Book a free strategic clarity call. His About section was raw honesty about his failures and successes. Specific numbers, clear about who he is, clear about who he helps and how. We also added a custom button to his profile, which was a direct link to his consultation calendar. Jennifer's headline read, Fractional CMO Bringing Cross-Industry Marketing Insights. Turned around 4 brands in 10 years. Her banner had a value proposition plus the industries she specializes in. Her About section highlighted her unconventional path as a strength with specific ROI numbers from each role. We also added recommendations. We got her 5 recommendations in week 1. Here's what happened. Week 1, combined, they had maybe 50 to 100 profile views per week. By week 3, after optimization and consistent posting, they were getting 300 to 500 profile views per week each. So that's 1,500 plus potential opportunities looking at their profiles every single week. All 3 invested in LinkedIn Premium. Why? Well, because you can see who looked at your profile. This became their secret weapon. When a CEO or a potential client viewed their profile, they could reach out immediately. The conversation was already warm because that person had shown interest. Sarah used this to start 3 conversations with board members in her target companies. Marcus identified 10 warm leads in his first month. Jennifer got introduced to a company looking for exactly her skill set because she saw the CEO viewed her profile and reached out. Great profiles get you attention. But content is what keeps people coming back and builds the relationships that turn into opportunities. Here's where most people fail. They post randomly, right? They're inconsistent. They don't know what to write about. I gave all three executives the same content system. And here's what's important. None of them are natural writers. None of them had time to spend hours crafting posts, but the system works regardless. I taught them this: you're writing for your audience, not the algorithm. The algorithm is designed to serve your audience. Make better content, and the algorithm takes care of itself. Step 1 is idea hunting. The best LinkedIn posts answer questions people have about your niche. I had each executive study the top 5 creators in their space and create a swipe file of posts with over 1,000 likes. You can also ask AI, what are the most common questions people have about my area? Another cool thing to do is search Reddit for threads related to your expertise. And when they did this, within 1 week, each had a list of over 50 post ideas. Step 2 is the hook formula. The hook is everything. It's what makes people stop scrolling. I taught them to use numbers, number 1. So 3 hiring mistakes that cost me my best employees. Bold statements. Nobody talks about this part of leadership. Personal loss or pain. I lost $50,000 before I learned this lesson. So Sarah's best hook: board seats aren't given to the most qualified. Here's what actually gets you in the room. Marcus's best hook: I turned down $150,000 last month. Here's why it was the right decision. Jennifer's best hook: I got fired from my dream job. Best thing that ever happened to my career. Step 3 is the structure. Every post followed this template: a hook to grab attention, context to set up the story, pain point, so what problem are you addressing, a solution, your insight or framework, some kind of a dopamine hit that makes them want to engage. Let me show you what happened with their content. For Sarah, in week 1, her average post was 15 likes, 2 comments. By week 8, she was getting 200 likes and over 30 comments. Her best post received 1,200 likes and 85 comments about board positioning. For Marcus, in week 1, his average posts were about 8 likes and 1 comment. By week 8, he had 150 likes and 25 comments. His best post received 800 likes and 3 direct consulting inquiries worth $75,000 combined. For Jennifer, in week 1, she had about 12 likes with 0 comments. By week 8, she was all the way up to 180 likes and 20 comments. Her best post had 950 likes and a DM from a company offering exactly the fractional role she wanted. Here's what I had them do. Post 3 times per week minimum. Spend 15 minutes per day commenting on other people's posts. Genuine, thoughtful comments here. Do not use AI. And then track what worked and double down on those topics. All 3 kept swipe files of high-performing posts. When they saw something with over 1,000 likes in their industry, they'd save it and ask, how can I apply my unique perspective to this same topic? They were not copying. They were learning patterns and applying their own prolific viewpoints. Here's something that shocked all 3 of them. Follow-up posts performed incredibly well. When Sarah's board positioning post went viral, she followed up 3 days later with 5 things I learned from the comments on my last post. It got even more engagement. Your audience wants more depth on topics they care about. Great content was driving profile views and engagement, but that's just attention. Now we need to turn that attention into actual business relationships. Here's where the real magic happened, because content without a networking strategy is just vanity metrics. I gave all 3 executives the same tactical approach. Number 1 is the connection campaign. Create a prospect list of 100 to 250 people who fit their ideal customer profile. Connect with 10 to 20 people per day, not too many because LinkedIn will flag you, and engage with their content so LinkedIn starts serving your posts to them. Wait about 60 days before sending any sales message. Reach out with a soft opener after they've been looking at your content. Sarah's ideal customer profile was board members and C-suite executives at mid-market companies in her target industries. She spent 10 minutes every morning connecting with people from this list. No sales pitch, just a simple connection request. Then she'd spend 15 minutes commenting thoughtfully on posts from people in her prospect list, other executives talking about leadership, and posts from companies she wanted to get on the board of. Marcus's ICP was founders and CEOs of scale-up companies, so $5 million to $50 million in revenue. He connected with 15 people per day. He commented on their posts. He engaged with their challenges publicly. By week 4, people were already reaching out to him asking about his services without him pitching anything. Jennifer targeted CMOs and CEOs at companies known for hiring fractional executives. She was disciplined, 10 to 15 connections per day, 15 minutes of genuine commenting, no spam. By week 6, she had over 400 new strategic connections who were regularly seeing her content. Here's the critical part that separated these 3 from everyone else. They waited. Most people connect and immediately pitch. That's spam. That's why LinkedIn feels gross right now. But when you wait 60 days, when someone has been seeing your valuable content for 2 months, they already know you, like you, and trust you. After 60 days, here's how they reached out. Sarah's message. Hey, Frank, I noticed you've been engaging with some of my posts on leadership. What caught your attention? I'd love to hear what's working in your organization right now. Marcus's message. Hey, Sarah, how are things going at Apple? I've been following your growth. Impressive. What's your biggest challenge right now as you scale? Jennifer's message. Hey, Mike, what made you connect with me initially? I'm always curious to see what resonates with marketing leaders like yourself. This is where my jaw dropped. Sarah received an 82% response rate. 5 conversations turned into board introduction meetings. Marcus had a 78% response rate. Multiple warm leads, and 3 turned into paid discovery calls. Jennifer had an 85% response rate. 1 turned into her dream fractional CMO role. Compare that to cold email, like 2 to 5% response rate, or cold LinkedIn pitches, maybe 10% if you're lucky. All 3 reported the same thing. The 15 minutes per day commenting was the highest ROI activity. Other executives started recognizing them in the comments. They built relationships with peers. They got invited to private groups and conversations. Sarah got invited to speak at an event because an organizer kept seeing her thoughtful comments on leadership posts. Marcus got a referral from someone he'd never even connected with. They'd just seen him commenting intelligently on mutual connections posts. Okay, so we've covered the framework, but you're probably thinking, what actually happened at the end of 60 days? Let me break down exactly what happened for each executive after 60 days of following this framework. Sarah's results. Her followers went from 800 to 2,400. That's 3x growth. Her profile views went from 50 per week to over 400. The opportunities were even crazier. She had 5 board introduction meetings scheduled, 2 speaking opportunities, one of which was paid, 8 consulting inquiries. She wasn't even looking for consulting work. She also had multiple media requests to comment on leadership topics. The biggest surprise, though, a CEO she'd never met reached out offering her a board advisor role because he'd been following her content for 6 weeks. Marcus's results. His followers went from 2,000 to 4,100. Profile views from 80 per week to over 550 per week. His opportunities, 12 consulting inquiries, 4 turned into paid discovery calls, about $5,000 each, 2 signed as retainer clients, about $180,000 total annual value. He also had a partnership opportunity with a complementary service provider. And the biggest surprise, his content attracted a private equity firm looking for advisors. Now he advises 3 of their portfolio companies. Jennifer's results, she went from 1,200 to 3,300 followers. Her profile views went from 60 per week to over 420 each week. Her opportunities, 15 fractional CMO inquiries, 3 formal interviews, 1 accepted offer. 20 hours per week fractional CMO role, 20 hours per week fractional CMO, 1 accepted offer, 20 hours per week at $12,000 per month. She also had a speaking opportunity at a marketing conference, and she was asked to be a guest on 2 podcasts. The biggest surprise for her, the company that hired her had been following her for 7 weeks before reaching out. They felt like they already knew her from her content. Here's what shocked me the most about this experiment. Number 1 is speed. I expected results to take over 90 days, but all 3 started getting meaningful opportunities by week 6 or 7. Number 2 was quality over quantity. None of them hit massive follower numbers, But the followers they did get were exactly the right people. Sarah's 2,400 followers included over 100 board members and C-suite executives. Number 3 is the compounding effect. The opportunities didn't stop at day 60. If anything, they accelerated. By day 75, all 3 had more opportunities than they could handle. Number 4, the vulnerability factor. The posts where they were vulnerable and authentic consistently performed 5 times better than safe content. Every single time. 5 is the network strategy ROI. The 15 minutes per day commenting generated more high-quality opportunities than hours spent crafting posts. The relationship building was the secret weapon. Here's what each executive told me at the end. Sarah said, "I've been trying to get on boards for 2 years. I sent cold emails, I networked at events. Nothing worked. In 60 days on LinkedIn, I got more board conversations than the previous 2 years combined." Marcus said, "I spent $30,000 on a website and branding last year. This LinkedIn strategy generated 10 times more business in 60 days for basically zero cost." Jennifer said, "I applied to over 50 jobs over 6 months. Got maybe 5 callbacks. Then I start posting on LinkedIn and the perfect opportunity came to me. I didn't even have to apply." Here's the pattern I saw across all 3. Weeks 1 to 2, it's setup. It's early consistency, some engagement, but mostly from your existing network. Weeks 3 to 4, the algorithm started favoring their content, so their reach expanded beyond their network. Weeks 5 to 6, this is when the first meaningful opportunities appeared. Warm conversations started. Weeks 7 to 8, acceleration, multiple opportunities, higher quality leads, word of mouth referrals. Beyond day 60, compounding continued. The foundation they built kept generating returns. All 3 proved something critical. You don't need 100,000 followers to land premium opportunities. What you need is the right followers seeing authentic content consistently, combined with strategic networking. Sarah's 2,400 followers generated more value than most people get with 50,000 random followers. Quality beats quantity every time. So let me bring this all together for you. 3 executives, 1 framework, 60 days. And the results? Board positions, consulting deals worth $180,000, dream fractional role at $12,000 per month, speaking gigs, podcast invitations, and most importantly, control over their careers. Here's what you need to remember from their journey. Develop your story using the 3C framework. Be clear, consistent, and constantly reinforce who you are. Be vulnerable and authentic. It's your unfair advantage that less than 1% of LinkedIn creators actually leverage. Optimize your profile to convert attention into opportunities. Write strategic content that answers your audience's real questions. Build your network strategically. 10 to 20 connections per day with your ICP, 15 minutes of genuine commenting. And be patient. Wait 60 days before pitching. Let your content build trust first. None of this is complicated, but it does require consistency. Sarah, Marcus, and Jennifer succeeded because they committed to 60 days. They didn't quit after 2 weeks when results were slow. They trusted the process. Most people will watch this video, feel motivated, and then go back to their old habits. They'll post sporadically, they'll pitch too early, they'll give up when they don't go viral. Don't be most people. Here's my challenge to you. Give this framework 60 days, just 60 days. Post 3 times per week, comment genuinely for 15 minutes daily, connect with 10 to 20 people in your ICP every day, be vulnerable and authentic in your content, don't pitch anyone for 60 days. That's it. Track what happens. If you're serious about building your personal brand on LinkedIn, subscribe to this channel. I'll be breaking down more case studies, showing you exactly how to write hooks that perform, and revealing strategies that actually work. Remember, Sarah, Marcus, and Jennifer weren't special. They weren't natural content creators. They were just busy professionals who followed a system consistently for 60 days. If they can do it, so can you. The question is, will you? Thanks for watching. Now, go build something worth talking about.